Today, Precarious plays
Lost Kingdoms 2. So now that you've seen most of both of these, how do you feel about this series?
It stands out to me as very different from other games that I've played, mostly because of the way the cards work. It doesn't feel like a card game, except for when you open up all of the menus.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're rolling through and it's like a fun regular game, but then it turns the menu system and not the menu system, but like the back end preparing part of the game, it turns it into a card game. And I really like that combination because I don't like that part of RPGs and other games where like you have to spend a lot of time in menus crafting and upgrading armor and, you know, just messing with things, doing your battle preparations. That this game turns it into a card game.
So at the very least, whenever you're working with it, you get tiny little pieces of art.
Yeah. Well, you get tiny pieces of art, and then you also get the feeling of building your deck for a card game, which I think is much more attractive to me personally. Like, you know the deck building game Ascension?
Yeah. Hey.
It's not just about... It's not just about building your deck and then playing with it. You build your deck as you play through the game, which is fun because it integrates the preparation and the play really well. And I think that this game does that very well too. Now there are like grindy bits and weird things that have happened because of, you know, you trying to get to a certain rating to be able to access a certain area of the map. But in the spots where this game shines, and the other game as well, like the thing that stands out to me most about what these games have going for them is that they gamify the prep process, the setup process. Gamify is not even right because lots of games do that. It's just in a particular format that I find attractive.
And I think that has a lot to do with the medium.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like you can, after a fashion, you can get a sense that you've sort of upgraded your deck, you've upgraded your forces over time, just through the slow process of pulling a new card in by expending resources, and then you drop an old one, maybe like with one of the, I think that was like the focus of the purple cards in the base set.
Yeah.
Discarding old cards you don't need anymore. This is sort of streamlined where you just use a card until it gets enough experience and then you can upgrade it or copy it. And that works very well. I mean, just that alone, it takes something that would be sort of tedious, which is use this card and then search the deck and then you put a second copy in and then shuffle the deck afterwards. Or I suppose in a deck building game, it would just be like pull this from the stack and then put it in the deck, or put it in the discard pile and then shuffle it the next time you refresh your deck.
Yeah.
This, it's just like, hey, you got a second copy of the card. Good for you. No.
Yeah.
Yes. I heard something about this on the internet. Yes, I will. So, what you do, there are two deity level figures here, and you have to pick one to be friends with. What was that? I wonder if I can reproduce that. Oh yeah, that's a shame. I noticed earlier in the temple, or the Sacred Battle Arena.
Yeah.
Down in one of the sort of channels. If you pull the camera back like this, you can see that there's an untextured wall. Although it's funny because Dark Souls 3 had some untextured surfaces whenever it launched. Like, I specifically remember if you went into the boss room, this will make no sense at all to you, but if someone has played it far enough into the game, they'll get it. The room that has the chalice that leads to the giant skeleton king boss fight, when the game launched, if you were to walk in and then turn around, which I guess kind of explains why it slipped through, I suppose, because it's like, we're busy, we gotta face forward, fight the boss. No, if you turn around at that point, you can see that the stones above the door are like this blinding mirror gray, like this plain surface. And it's because they forgot to texture it. Or, there was some technical error that was preventing it from being textured, I should say.
Yeah.
It's not like somebody was going through and painting the damn thing.
Well, and that brings me back. You were asking me how I felt about these two games, and I have to say they both feel like they are high on style, but low on polish. Like, the concept is there, like, look at all these. Like, where else do you see these? Like, these don't look like enemies from any other game. Like, what is that?
Thinking about the number... So, can I check from here? I guess I can't check from... I can't check the catalog right now. I'm pretty sure this game has over 200 cards.
Yeah.
And even though there is a little bit of model sharing, like all of the lizardmen and skeleton, all of the skeletons, for example, they're going to be really close to one another.
Yeah.
There is a shocking amount of labor that had to go in. So I would say that the polish is broad instead of deep.
Yeah.
Here's a great point. Nintendo, they themselves... I guess this would be comparable to, Pokemon Coliseum.
Yeah.
So imagine like the scope of this game compared to Pokemon Coliseum.
Yeah. So, I think that the art is really interesting without being particularly well executed for the time that this game was published. But that's, like, I don't like it any less for that. It just makes me daydream about, like, what could be done in the future. It makes me think about, like, hey, let's get some Bloodborne attention to this, Let's give this more attention. Because, like, think about all of the cards that there are and how different they are from what you expect. I mean, I've said this before, but, like, with the exception of the skeleton and perhaps the Dracula vampire, like, everybody looks weird in a good way. Like, everything is unexpected.
Oh.
Like, what is it? This is Ashura. And that does not look like my typical mental picture of
like the
Ashura.
The floaty orb sets it apart. I think.
Yeah, and he's sitting on...
What? I see. That's peculiar. It's... Oh, the lifespan is really short.
Yeah, well, and it's not just the 3D models. It's the art on the cards, which I think they do a fairly good job of getting the art on the cards onto the screen.
Yeah, as models.
Yeah, which, is difficult. It's just something... This place has a very clear sense of itself. Both games do. They feel like part of the same world. And especially in retrospect, like, as we began to play through this game, I thought about the first one and thought, wow, this has a lot more detail. It looks like a completely different place. But then towards the middle and to now, like looking at how everything moves and fits together, this does feel like the same universe, just rendered at a higher level. I feel like it's a whole little world. It's lovely.
I salute your bravery. Accept this token of my thanks. Use this card whenever you have need of my help.
Do you get to keep her?
It's interesting that that part was voiced, but not the initial conversation.
Yeah, that is odd. But do you get to keep her?
It kind of seems that way. Now, I knew that this was coming, so I brought that capture card so I could have, I think because of that, I get one of each. Let me check really quickly here. Oh, wait, no.
What is her card?
New. I can just go to new. Okay, yeah. So they're both fire.
Oh, look at her. That horned helm. How cool.
What does it do? Okay, so it's a summons. A legendary being said to escort the soul of the brave to paradise. The more creatures that die while Valkyrie is in your hand, the more powerful its special Valhalla attack. That's cool. That like the I don't know about the gameplay application, but that's a really clever. I love all of the weird, clever ideas that they crammed into this series.
Yes, I'm 100% with you on that.